And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Space Planets from HABA. HABA is known for two things. They make mostly yellow boxes, and they make great games for kids. And this is a game in which it's a dexterity game where you're throwing dice onto cards, trying to capture those cards and get the most points. Here's how you play it. Each player has a spaceship that they're going to put in front of them, and that spaceship they're going to start with 4 fuel crystals on it. And on a player's turn, they're going to roll a die trying to make it land on one of these cards. If it misses a card, they get 1 fuel crystal and their turn is over. If it lands on a card, they're going to look at the number of fuel crystals they rolled, which is 1, 2, or 3, and that's how much they pay, and they get the card. Now, if they can't afford the card because they don't have fuel crystals, they will instead look at the number that they rolled, and that's how many fuel crystals that they get. Then they take the card and put it in front of them. The goal is to get cards that are worth the most amount of points. Cards are going to be worth anywhere from 1 to 4 points, with the exception of these black holes. When you land on these, you get nothing. Your turn's over, and then we replace it. Whenever you get something, you replace it. The 3 planets are worth 3 points, and that's it. These 2 planets are worth only 2 points, but when you get on them, you also get a fuel crystal. And the 1 planet here is worth 1 point, but you get 2 fuel crystals. This one here gives you 2 crystals, and then everyone else, until your turn, the next turn, has to pay an extra fuel crystal to land on it. This one here lets you get to the planet, and you get to roll the die again. And this one here is 4, but it's going to cost you an extra fuel crystal to get it besides what is shown on it. And you're just going to keep doing this as you replace the cards, as players are rolling the die. And once someone has collected 5 of these cards, then the game's over. And basically, everyone gets to roll the die one last time. And then you'll count the stars on the cards. And whoever has the most points is the winner. And every 2 fuel crystals that you have left over is worth 1 point. You know, HABA makes so many great games that eventually, sometimes they're going to have one that's not as good as the rest, and I think that's where Space Planets is. It's not that Space Planets is a bad game. It's okay, you get to roll the dice on the cards, but there's a few problems with it. 1, some kids are going to have a really hard time where the dice lands on the cards. 2, there's kind of ambiguous. If it just is touching the card, does that give you the card? We played real easy rules with this. But sometimes it just, you really don't have any control where you throw a die. You can, and there are silly games where you throw dice on the table and see where they land. But this one for kids, it's hard to, they're trying to get certain cards, and for some kids it's going to be frustrating if they keep missing the card all the time, or if they keep rolling the number that doesn't help them. Now, I do like the fact that the die, if you roll a high number, I can't afford that, well, great, you get more crystals, and that works out well. But I have seen many times when this is played where there was really a blowout. One person won just because they rolled 3 and got 3 crystals, and then they rolled a 1 and spent 1 of those crystals to get something. Then they rolled another 1 and got that, and then they rolled a 3 and got 3 crystals. And so if you roll the dice properly like that, which of course is random, you can do really well. And the symbols are not as intuitive as I had hoped, and so the kids were constantly looking them up. But I do like the artwork of the game. The space theme works well, and it's fun for kids. My problem is, again, that there's just so many great games. There's dexterity games and there's memory games for kids. And this is basically all dexterity. And maybe a few choices, but mostly dexterity. And just sometimes there's that card where when you get it, everyone else has to pay 1 more fuel, which just is a little mean for this kind of kids game. So I don't dislike the game, but no one really loved it either. The kids were like, yeah, it's fun. What's next? And for HABA, that's almost like a negative to some degree. So you might like this. It might be interesting. Some people, I think, will enjoy rolling the die on a table, and the components are good like any HABA game. But for me, there are better games in the line, especially ones where you're throwing things or rolling things or what have you. So anyway, that's Space Planets. Dice Tower Judgment, okay.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door! do, do.